The next thing, and this is probably the most important thing at matches. Competition season is quickly approaching, and I've been getting a ton of questions about how to find matches. What gear do you need to get started? How do you prep for them? So I want to give you guys a quick breakdown for those of you who are interested in getting into a match or who are interested in doing more matches this year. I've also asked some friends of mine to give you guys some tips, guys who are champions, guys who are winners, guys who are match directors, to give you guys a little bit of insight to help you prepare for getting into matches this year, because ultimately I believe this is the best way to test your skill, best way to see where your shortcomings are and get better at long range shooting, at scope carbine, whatever goals you have. I will leave links for these both down in the description, but your two best resources to find matches are going to be Practice Score and Quantified Performance. Now, Quantified Performance, if you go to their website, you scroll down to the bottom, you will see all the matches that are currently on the schedule. Sometimes they add matches to that schedule throughout the year as more ranges become available, as more match directors step up, as there's more demand, they will make more matches. That's been what I've seen in the past. So keep an eye out there. You can click on any of those and it'll take you directly to Practice Score, so you can sign up for those matches. Now, when you sign up for your match, you usually will have to pay ahead of time. You can select a squad, or they'll squad you in wherever. So the main thing is set up a Practice Score account so that way you can register for these matches. Now, in Practice Score, if you want to use Practice Score to find matches, there's a couple things you can do. So you can go to matches and you can search, and then you can also narrow down that search or filter that search by the state you live in or areas, the states around you, so you can find one. So some keywords you can search for, you can do different searches. The things that I recommend searching for are DMR, SPR, gas gun, accurized. Any of those words will help you find matches in your area or around you, and you can sign up for those, or you can decide if you want to travel to some. So I'll be doing a lot of traveling this year just because there's not a lot of matches near where I live. As I went through Practice Score and was searching some of these key terms, here's some of the matches that I found. Cowtown has a monthly gas gun match. It's an accurized barrel match, so you can sign up for that one. That's out if you're in Arizona or the surrounding areas. Brock's Gap in Alabama, I believe, also has some pretty regular matches out there. Silver Creek Range in Alabama also has their own series that they do, which I believe is a DMR SPR match. The Clinton House in South Carolina has matches there as well. Shootout at Serengeti in Florida is a pretty consistent match series they have out there, it looks like, off of Practice Score. And then the IWI series up in, I believe it's Pennsylvania, they have a monthly series, but nobody wants to shoot up there except for like 2 months out of the year because it's miserable and cold. Jeremy, I'm joking. If you see this, I apologize. I'll try to make one. If all else fails, if there's no gas gun specific matches, you can find a local PRS match. Most local PRS matches will have a gas gun division. Now, obviously, you're going to be a little outgunned when you're shooting out at targets at 1,000 or 1,200 yards if those ranges allow. So yes, you may not be as competitive against bolt guns with higher magnification if you're shooting an LPVO and a 16-inch gun. But the goal for these matches is to develop the skill, not necessarily trying to win, especially if this is your first match. And I would tell you the biggest thing, don't think about it, just sign up. Pick the first match that you have availability and sign up, because once you have skin in the game, once you've paid for it, once you've committed to it, there's no backing out. If you go and look at it and go, oh yeah, I'll sign up as it gets closer, or let me see if my buddy wants to sign up with me, or you start making excuses for why you're not going to sign up, and before you know it, it's the week before, and the wife tells you she's got something to do and you can't sign up, or, oh, I made other plans and I can't make it, or, the weather might be a little cold, so we'll decide to. Don't make excuses, just sign up. And once you've paid for it, it forces you to start preparing for it, and it forces you to be committed to that date. It's on your calendar. I'm going to be there. I've already signed up. I've already paid for it. I've got ammo on order. Time to start getting ready because this match is going to happen. Once you've signed up for your match, the big question everybody has, like, well, what gear do I need? What do I need to shoot these matches? Because I don't, I'm just getting started in this. I've got my LPVO, I got my gun, and I don't know what else I need aside from that. You don't really need a lot, honestly. I would say the biggest thing you need is obviously your gun with your optic and however you have it configured. You don't have to make any special changes to make your gun work. You don't have to put weights on it or have a brake or any of that. Just shoot what you have because you're there to develop the skill and have fun, and not necessarily trying to build out a race car, right? So I think of this like street racing. Grew up in a family of racers. When you start street racing, you just race with what you have. And then as you get more into it, or as you get better, you start upgrading it. You want to compete with some of these other guys. You start building up the car over time as you get faster and faster and faster. It snowballs. It's the same way with shooting. So don't feel like you have to build a pro mod car to go race against these guys in your first match. It's your first match, shoot what you got, and then as you get into it, you're naturally just going to figure out what you like and the things you want to make you better or to help you get better. You'll figure that out over time and just you'll naturally start getting those and acquiring the things you need. The second biggest thing that I see happen in matches is use the same batch of ammo. I don't care if it's 55 grain or 62 grain or 77 grain open tip match. Just make sure you have enough ammo for the match and that's the same ammo that you're going to use through the entire match. Because what I will see is guys will come in with like 3 different kinds of ammo and like halfway through the first day, they switch to a different type of ammo and then they run out of that ammo. And so the third day they're on their third type of ammo. Every ammo that they switch to has different data. It could be a different grain. It could be a different powder load. It could have a different BC. So they're constantly chasing data and it's inconsistent. And then they're just not having a good time because they're trying to figure out why am I missing at 300 yards when I was hitting yesterday. So keep the same ammo throughout the match and make sure you have enough to get your data ahead of time and then keep the ammo the same throughout the match and then you can change and practice whatever else you want, but just make sure you have that one consistent batch of ammo. The second biggest thing is a bipod. Now, I do say this is kind of like a nice to have, not necessarily a must have, because you can probably borrow a bipod from somebody at a match if you need to. And you don't shoot a ton of stages prone. You do shoot a lot, but you don't shoot all of them from prone. But having a bipod does make it easier because usually when you're in prone, you're usually shooting your further targets like 700 yards, 800 yards. So trying to bounce off of a mag isn't always the most fun in the world, especially if it's a 2 MOA target. So a bipod is nice if you can get one. You know, if you care about brand or you want to know which one, we've got a bunch of videos talking about this and I feel like we've beaten that horse to death. So go watch one of those and you can figure out which bipod you want to use. The next thing I say you need is a bag. Now, again, this is another one of those nice to haves, not necessarily a must have because you can borrow bags from guys. So it's your first match, you don't know, like, do I get this size? Do I get that size? Do I get this fill? Do I get the sticky? Do I get this shape versus that shape? If you don't know and you don't want to spend the money without knowing which one you like, go to a match because everybody has different bags and you can test theirs out and see and go, yeah, I like that shape of bag, but I don't like that fill, or I like that fill and I want it to be sticky like that one, or whatever. You can figure out and you can go, okay, hey, where'd you get this? And then like, yep, that's the one I want. Order it right there. It'll be at your house probably a day or two after the match. So that's the best way to figure out what bag you like without having to spend the money of like I did, of buying a bunch of ones and then figuring out what you don't like. So the next thing that you'll need is a way to manage your data. Now, there's guys who have Kestrel HUDs. I have the little stick-on whiteboard there. Guys use stickers. They use all kinds of things to have their data. The easiest thing to do is just get some blue painter's tape. Some blue painter's tape and a Sharpie at every stage. You just write down your data for the stage and just tape it to your arm or tape it somewhere on the gun. And that way you have your data and then you can kind of see what other guys are using and see and go, okay, yeah, that's what I want. Again, just like a bag, it's a nice to have, not a must have to shoot these matches, but being at the match will allow you to figure out what gear you think will work best for you, save you money in the long run. Now, the last one I debated, is this a nice to have or is it a must have? And I will say it is a must have, and that is a ballistic solver of some kind. Now, the easiest way is to get the free app on your iPhone or your smartphone. Do that. That way, because your data is going to change on environmentals. So you may have collected data in one set of environmentals and then the match is in a different one. So your data is going to change. And sometimes the weather will change in a match. So you'll start out cold in the morning. The clouds will burn off, it'll get hot and sunny and the pressure changes in the atmosphere, or it may be reversed. And so your data is going to change based on that. So you want to be able to have up-to-date data as you're shooting out to these further distances, especially with the matches that have smaller targets. Otherwise, you're just going to have a bad time. You're going to be wasting a lot of ammo. You're chasing data, not sure why you're missing. So if you can get the app, just do the app. It's the easiest, cheapest way. If you are willing to make the investment for a Kestrel, it's the better way. There's no easy way to say it. It does a lot more than just giving you your data. And again, we have a whole masterclass on that. And you can see what all it does. But it's something that you will grow into and use more and more of those features as you get more into this discipline of shooting. So take that for what it's worth. The next thing I would say is that the day of the match, you're going to want to get there early and confirm your zero. You may have traveled, maybe you flew, maybe you drove, maybe it's not that far, but maybe the gun was in a case and it was bouncing around in the back of the truck. Maybe you just cleaned it, whatever. There's a lot of variables. It takes 5 to 10 minutes. They usually have a spot set aside. Go out, confirm your zero. That way it's one less variable you have to worry about during the match. Because if your zero is not on, then maybe at 200-300 yards on a 2 MOA target, not such a big deal. But when you get out to 500, 600, 700, 800, even 1,000 yards, that zero shift is going to cause a shift in your data, and you're going to be off by a lot, and it's not going to lead to a good time, right? So we're just trying to eliminate as many of those variables as possible. So get out, confirm your zero, and then it'll make your life a lot easier for the rest of the day, so you can focus on other things. The last thing I would say to prepare yourself for the match is that a lot of matches will send out a matchbook ahead of time, so you can review that matchbook and see what the stages will look like. And some matches will give it to you well in advance to where maybe you can practice them at home, practice them in dry fire. The other thing you can do is sometimes they'll allow you to get out the day before and see what those stages look like. You may not be able to shoot them, but you can get out there and look and see what those stages look like, so you get an idea for your eye line. So where's that target at in relation to the other? So you may see it on paper, and the targets are this close on paper, but then when you get in and you're looking through a scope, those targets are 100 yards apart. So you have to scan over and find a reference point for where that target's going to be. The biggest thing I would say in reviewing the matchbook is not so much, figuring out stage planning, kind of like you would for USPSA. What I would say is that it's more so to get an idea for the different positions you're going to have to be in. Because you get out there the Friday before a match or the day before a match, whatever it is, and you see like, okay, the barricade is this high. I know I'm going to have to go kneeling there. This barricade is going to be this high, and I'm going to have to go standing here and maybe on my tippy toes if you're short like me. But it'll give you an idea for the different positions you're going to have to be in, so that you're mentally prepared. Like, okay, I know I'm going to see that, because sometimes they may throw a loop out at you where you have a barrel that rolls back and forth, or you're shooting off of a slack line and you're like, oh crap, I don't know, what am I going to do here? Or something weird where you're off of like a jet ski, whatever it is. But that way it's one less thing where you're less frantic the day of. Like, it's not a surprise when you get to the match where you're like, oh crap, I've never seen this before. So you have time to prepare yourself. So we've transitioned over into the big day. What are some things you can do for the day of that I think will help you? And I think this is one that I'm working on a lot this year, is setting goals, but setting goals that are process focused and not necessarily outcome focused. And what I mean by that is guys come into a match, and we see this all the time, and they're like, I want to be competitive. I want to win. I want to be in the top 3 in my first match. And like, that's cool, bro. That's a great goal, but that's an outcome-based goal. And there's a lot of factors that determine that you have no control over. But if you make process-based goals that are focused on processes like cleaning a stage, or making good wind calls, or no mental errors, or having good positions and reducing your wobble zone, or limiting the amount of misses you have on a target. Things like that are process focused. Making sure you have a good pre-shot routine where it's the same every time. Those are process focused, not outcome focused. So you can control majority of the things that happen in those processes. It's dependent on you. If you do all your processes right, and the outcome is what it is. So focus more on the process and not so much on the outcome. So set some goals for yourself on, hey, I only want to miss a target, no more than 2 times, right? Like making good corrections. Or I want to make sure I do my pre-shot routine the same every time. That's a good process goal. Making sure that I build good positions, or no mental errors is a good one, right? So like a lot of times, like I've done this and you've seen it in my match videos. Forget to send the bolt forward, forgetting to take your caps off, forgetting to have the right bag, shooting the wrong targets, shooting targets out of order. Those are all mental errors. So eliminating those, that's a good process goal. Things like that. Ask Scott Peterson. He has a lot of good information on that. But setting goals that are process-based, not necessarily outcome-based, I think is a good thing to set for yourself so as you go into the match the day of. The next thing I would say is safety. Safety is paramount. I know for a lot of guys, getting into their first match can be a little bit of a shell shock. It can be uncomfortable because you don't know what to expect. It seems like everybody knows each other. Sometimes it can be a bit intimidating. The biggest thing is be safe. I know there's some moving stages. There's some props you've probably never worked off of. Safety is the biggest thing. The fastest way to ruin a good time is for you to have an accident that hurts yourself or hurts somebody else. The next thing I would say is watch and learn. So when you're there with whatever squad you're with, again, like I said, these guys are going to be super helpful. They're going to offer as much information as they can to help you. They want to see you succeed. They want to see the sport grow. So watch and learn. Watch how they approach stages. Watch how they read wind. Watch how they approach different barricades, different heights or levels of barricades. Look at the way they're approaching the stage as a whole, as they're thinking ahead and thinking through things. And if you have time, you may not have a spotting scope or you may not have binoculars, but you can borrow somebody's while they're shooting, get on glass, help spot, see what that trace looks like, see what spotting impacts and misses looks like, see what the wind is doing, look at the mirage, start learning to read that mirage better and seeing the wind calls guys are making for themselves versus what you were doing. Just soak up and take up as much information as you can from the better shooters and learn how they're doing things and how they're doing them differently. That's something that you can add to your tool bag, right? So like the way that they approach it or their pre-shot routine, maybe there's something in there that sticks out to you, or the way they prep their gun before the stage, or the way that they've got their gun set up. Maybe there's something in there you can do differently, or maybe they approach a certain barricade or a certain barricade height a different way than you would that you've never thought of, and maybe that's something that you can take away. So there's a lot to learn by just watching and observing and asking questions, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Guys are happy to help. Obviously, if they're getting ready to shoot, they're next in line. Don't ask them questions then. Ask them after or ask them before. You're going to have a lot of downtime to talk and ask questions, especially if you're moving from stage to stage. So don't be afraid to ask questions. The next thing, and this is probably the most important thing at matches, snacks. You need snacks, because you're usually sitting out there for, anywhere from 6 hours to some of the longer matches, maybe 8 hours. And you'll start to get hungry and you'll get bored or you'll get distracted. And so if you notice, Taylor and I always have snacks with us, because we've learned this the hard way, where especially if you go out and enjoy the town the night before, you're gonna need snacks throughout the day to keep you on a level keel. So have some snacks with you. It can be something small, it doesn't have to be anything big. Try to avoid heavy stuff because it'll make you want to take a nap. And if you have a lot of downtime and you got a big comfy bag to lay on, you're going to want to take a nap. So snacks, easiest way. Stay hydrated, especially some of these matches. If you're in an environment you're not used to, the heat can sneak up on you, and you'll be dehydrated and you won't realize it. So make sure you're drinking water, or at least good fluids, and you have some sort of snack to keep you level throughout the day. And then the last tip that I have for you guys: have fun. The biggest thing about this is that it's a game. Right? We're out there. Yes, we're out there to develop a skill. Yes, we want to get better. Yes, we're super competitive and we want to win. We want to beat our buddy. But at the end of the day, you're there to have fun, because there's nothing on the line but pride. There is no life or death in the situation. So enjoy it while you can, because there may come a day where you have to do that and there's a lot more riding on the line. Enjoy it for what it is and have fun. Don't take yourself too seriously. Now, with all that said and all my rambling, here's some tips from some guys who are champions, who are match directors, and who have way more to offer than I do.
Hey everyone, so my tip is to start competing as soon as you're able to. And I say that because you never know what the ammo situation is going to be like in the future, and you never know what range of combinations you may or may not have in the future. And I don't think you get any better at matches by not going to matches. As somebody who's competed and directed matches, I hear a lot of hesitation from new shooters, like new prospective shooters, that don't currently believe that they're good enough to go out to a match. I don't agree with that, and I definitely don't think it's the case. To me, and for the most part, if you're able to conduct yourself safely, you are plenty good enough to head up to a match. I really encourage going, because matches will highlight what you need to work on. And if you're able to be honest with yourself, you will make progress as a shooter.
There's Mike Russo here, giving you a tip as you enter the competitive landscape. What I'd like to offer and talk about today is what I call my buy-in process, something that's extremely simple but very important. The purpose of this is to make sure that my equipment is squared away and I'm eliminating variables on the equipment side of the house so I can focus on my positional and my mental game before I head out to the match. So what is the buy-in process? Number one, it's making sure you have a good zero. Number two, it's making sure you capture and are utilizing good muzzle velocity. You need to have a good ballistic solver and or a kestrel in order to put your inputs in correctly, which is a huge tip and important, but also getting that soft data and putting it to use downrange to confirm the trajectory of your bullet. I'm lucky enough to have access to 1,000 yards, so my process is shooting at waterline targets, past your zero distance all the way out to 1,000, and confirming your impacts against those waterline targets. If for some reason your data is not lining up, you'll need to true. What that process looks like is using your ballistic solver or your kestrel is getting 85% of your transonic range and using that distance and confirming your data there and making adjustments in your solver to correct your data and elevation. It's just that simple. Get out to the range, get good zeros, get good muzzle velocity, make sure your equipment's squared away, and get out there and prep and practice and make sure you come with a good mental game. And I look forward to seeing you out on the range. Good luck.
Hey everybody, Ben from Wiseman Company. Jimmy asked me to do a short video with a tip for newer competitors. Now, the tip I'm going to give you today isn't the most sexy or glamorous, but it is going to save you a lot of embarrassment and it's going to get you started on the right foot. So my tip is a pre-flight checklist. What I mean by that, before I begin any stage, no matter what kind of shooting we're going to do, I have a pre-flight checklist, things that I'm going to make sure that are in order before that buzzer goes off. Now, for those of you that have had pre-flight checklists in other walks of life, you know they only work unless you follow the checklist to the letter. If you don't follow it, if you don't make a checklist and then follow it, there's no point in having one, right? So let's take a look at my pre-flight checklist. You take away from it what you want, add to it what you want, whatever's going to suit your needs. Again, you're going to run the stage to your full potential this way and avoid a lot of embarrassment like no magazine in the gun or your scope caps are closed. Let's take a look. So no matter what the genre of shooting, I like to start low and work my way high. What I mean by that, I'm going to start with the spare ammunition. I'm going to start with the belt line. So down here, I'm going to make sure that my magazine, spare ammunition, is inserted correctly and orientated in the right direction. And they're also topped off. So I'll push down on it, make sure that there's a correct number of rounds in there. I'm loading on the open bolt, so I'm going to load a full magazine. I want every round possible. And I'm going to double check the magazine that's actually going to go into the gun when I'm told to do so. Is my spare ammo, is the ammo I need for the stage squared away? Can't tell you how many times I've seen new shooters come up to the line. Their mags are orientated in weird ways because they were nervous and they're just sticking them in there. They have empty mags. They have no magazine. It happens. But if we have a pre-flight checklist, we can avoid some of this embarrassing stuff. Next, I'm going to check the status of the firearm and set it up according to the rules. So for what I mean for that is according to the rules. Am I allowed to have bolt forward? Am I allowed to have magazine inserted? Am I allowed to be chambered, etc.? So I'm going to set the gun up, check the status, and set it up according to the rules. For this particular instance, I'm shooting a gas gun match. You start with bolt lock to the rear, magazine in. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to check the status. Yes, I'm empty. Lock the bolt to the rear. Stick in my source of ammo. Again, maybe I'll double check it again if you want to because we have the opportunity to. Yes, it's full. Just like that. And I am ready in the sense that my firearm is loaded properly and set up to start the stage. As we work up, next I'm going to check optics. Is my magnification set to the setting I need? Is my elevation and windage set? Is my illumination set on the reticle? I'll take a look. I'll take the time I need. Can't tell you how many times people have stepped up to a stage. They have dope left on the gun from the previous stage. They bump something. They have no magnification on the gun. You name it, it's not squared away. So next, I'm checking optics, making sure those are good to go. So when that buzzer goes off, I don't need to do any adjustments on the fly. Before I give the nod, shooter ready, whatever it is, I'm going to take one last look over the course of fire. What I mean is I'm going to look out over the course of fire from the ready position. I'm going to note any details that are important, any instructions that are important, and make sure that my game plan is in order mentally. I'll take a breath, give the nod, the buzzer goes off. One last genre you could add to your checklist is auxiliary equipment, such as are my eyes on, are my ears on, bipods if they're applicable, bags, shooting bags, do I need those? So double checking that auxiliary equipment that you might not need for every stage. Obviously you need your eyes and ears for every stage, but you might not need a bipod for every stage. You might not need a 30 round mag for every stage. You might need a 20. Just checking those auxiliary details, that auxiliary equipment to make sure that's in order. Again, this is just my checklist. You guys can add to it, take away from it what you need. This is gonna save you a lot of heartache. I've seen guys bomb stages because they weren't ready to go and that buzzer went off. If you want to run the stage to the full potential, you need to be squared away. And a checklist allows you to do that. But remember, checklist only works if you follow it. So thanks guys, thanks for watching this video. Make sure you subscribe and like to Jimmy's channel. It's one of the best around. Seriously, not just saying that. Thanks, see you on the next video.
Hey everyone, I just want to quickly cover how sometimes I will utilize a Harris bipod and its ability to quick stow and deploy on a stage here in a competition. And the reason I do this is to save time and be a little more efficient, because every position I can move into and take a second, half second, whatever it is. And if I've got 10 positions, I could potentially have a 10-second lower stage time. So just figuring out how I can move more efficiently is huge. Got the old 308 here, Harris Bipod, shooting an 8-inch circle at 430 yards. I got like 2.6 mils on the gun, and try to catch it on video, and hopefully I get all the hits, right? We'll start mag in, bolt back, as that's how these competitions are done. And we'll start about 5 yards back. All right. Impact. Impact. All right, so there we go. You can see I utilized the prop to fold the bipod. Came into the stage, ripped it down real quick. A lot of times we would start with the bipod already deployed. However you prefer to do it. So just goes to show you can do it quickly both ways.
Hopefully you guys have found this helpful. Hopefully you've taken something away from this that'll help prepare you for your next match or your first match, that you'll take that step this year. Hopefully I'll see you guys at a match. Make sure you go follow all of those guys on Instagram so you can follow their competitions this year and see how they progress. And hopefully I'll have them in some videos coming up down the year or down the road later in the year as I shoot with them. But a big thank you to all of them for helping make this video happen. If you guys have any questions about shooting matches, or if there's anything else you want to know that maybe I left out, make sure you leave it in the comments down below. If you have a tip for somebody, if you've been shooting matches and you have a tip that will help someone, leave it in the comments down below. Make sure you like and subscribe. Karate chop that bell so you get notified every time I upload a video, and I will see you guys in the next one. It's cold. Ooh, how now, brown cow? Check, 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 check. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. I'm still not able to get my voice back. What the junk is going on here? Stop that. What are you doing? Has it been playing music all night? Let's start that over. One guy commented about my posture. It's just whatever. What is going on with this beanie? I'm not sure what's happening here. Yep, that's why we're wearing a beanie. You can do. Oh, okay. Let's just start that section over. And just rambling there. All right.